So there's been a lot of talk about this Comet Ison, that has recently come past the Earth and towards the Sun. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. To understand Comet Ison, we need to understand comets in general. So comets come from the outer solar system. They come from beyond Pluto, or actually right around where Pluto is. And they all orbit the Sun, just like the planets do. But a lot of them are in orbits that are very, very wide, and we don't see them very often. They have long periods like the outer planets, but they're very elongated, so they come in past the Sun. There are trillions and trillions of things that could be comets, and they're all basically big icy snowballs. So here's this Comet Ison, and it's been floating around in the solar system for billions of years, since the beginning of the solar system. And something perturbed it and had it change its orbit so that it would come past the Sun. And so it travels in towards the Earth. Well, then why haven't we seen it before? Well, how do we observe comets? They're not very big and they're not very bright. So think about how we look at things in space. When we see other planets like Venus or Mars, we see them because they're reflecting light from the Sun. The same is true for comets. But when they're out by Pluto, and they're even smaller than Pluto, they're hard to see. We can't see Pluto with the naked eye, and in fact we didn't discover Pluto until 1930. So a lot of comets, we just can't see them until they get closer in. They're too small to notice. So Comet Ison is on its trip, and it's traveling towards the Sun, and it passes Neptune and Saturn and Jupiter. And basically we discovered it somewhere on that trip about a year ago. So we've only known about this comet for about a year. And we've been tracking it, and it seemed like something that was going to give us a good show, because as it gets closer and closer to the Sun, it gets brighter and brighter, and it was big enough that we expected to see something really quite bright. So around October, beginning of October, it came in towards the Earth. It passed the Earth and towards the end of October, and that was the best time to see this comet. And then as it's heading towards the Sun, it gets brighter because it's reflecting more, but it's getting further away from us, so that makes it harder to see. And because it's heading towards the Sun, we can only see it towards sunrise. So basically it's in the sky early in the morning before the sun rises. And it's heading in towards the Sun, and then we're tracking it, and it was tracked beautifully by the Hubble Space Telescope. But we can't get too close to the Sun. You can't look directly at the Sun. So as we're looking towards this comet, eventually we just can't see it because it's too close to the Sun. So we're waiting for it to come out the other side. It's kind of like a slingshot around the Sun. It's going to go around the Sun and come back out the other side. Well, it went in towards the Sun, and when it came back out, it had changed its shape. And there was some talk of how it had been destroyed. And this you can understand. It's a big snowball, and it's going towards a really, really hot thing. So it's getting smaller and smaller, and we expect comets to disappear eventually because they'll just evaporate. All of that ice disappears. And it was thought that that Ison had gone. But now we're just starting to see it again, starting from basically Thanksgiving. It was when it was supposed to reappear, and it did, but it looks different. And it's not clear whether it's still intact or whether it's broken apart into pieces. But those pieces will keep going in that same orbit. They're all going in the same direction. So whether we still have something to see remains to be seen as of today. And if we can see it, it'll come past the Earth in the next week or so, and it'll be a really awesome show. But it'll still be early in the morning because as it comes past the Sun.